Hello and welcome to One India. You're watching World News. I am Pankaj Mishra. The temperature in West Asia rises further. The United States authorities' tough departures from Israel is imminent. A new generation of low-cost kamikaze drones enters the battlefield equation. America's top military commanders brief President Trump on Iran strike options. And the CIA makes an unusual public appeal in Farsi seeking informants inside Iran. We begin in Israel. The United States has authorized the departure of non-emergency government personnel and family members from Israel. The U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem cited unspecified safety risks amid growing concerns over a possible military confrontation with Iran. This is an authorized departure, not a full evacuation. Needless to say, Washington is factoring in the possibility of direct conflict. The move follows a stricter ordered departure for certain U.S. personnel in Beirut earlier this week, suggesting a widening regional alert posture. Here's the full report.
A sudden advisory from Washington is raising alarm across the Middle East. The U.S. State Department has authorized the departure of non-essential embassy staff and their families from Israel, urging Americans to consider leaving while flights are still available. The warning comes as tensions with Iran rise sharply and military deployments continue to grow. Officials say the move is a precaution tied to potential security incidents. Embassy personnel could soon face sudden travel restrictions across parts of Israel, the Old City of Jerusalem, and the West Bank. Such evacuation advisories are rare and typically issued when governments expect possible escalation. For observers, the timing suggests Washington is preparing for scenarios beyond diplomacy. The advisory follows the latest round of nuclear talks between the United States and Iran. While mediators spoke of progress, reports say American negotiators left the discussions frustrated. Iran has rejected proposals to ship enriched uranium abroad and continues to insist on maintaining its enrichment program. Washington, meanwhile, is demanding deeper concessions, including dismantling major nuclear sites and accepting long-term restrictions. The gap between the two sides remains wide. At the same time, the U.S. military posture is shifting. The USS Gerald R. Ford, the world's largest aircraft carrier, is moving closer to the region, joining a growing American naval and air presence. Hundreds of aircraft and multiple warships are now within operational range. Such deployments can serve as deterrence, but also as preparation. In crises like this, diplomacy and force often move in parallel. President Donald Trump has set a tight timeline for Iran to accept a deal, warning that failure could bring serious consequences. Iran, however, says Washington must drop what it calls excessive demands. With negotiations unresolved and deadlines approaching, each move now carries greater weight, and embassy evacuation orders often signal that governments are preparing for the unexpected. For now, planes are still flying, diplomats are still talking, and ships are still moving. But the decision to send families home suggests Washington may be bracing for something more.
It's called LUCAS, the Low-Cost Unmanned Combat Attack System, a one-way kamikaze drone platform. In a sense, America has studied Iran's Shahed 136 drone model, cloned it, upgraded it, and prepared it for deployment. What Tehran once exported as a swarm weapon systems may now be turned back in a potential confrontation. The Pentagon says the unit is ready to participate if conflict erupts. The drone era has clearly evolved. Take a look.
The Pentagon has activated a brand new weapon, a drone unit built specifically for one-way strike missions. The squadron, known as Task Force Scorpion, consists of low-cost kamikaze drones that hover over a target area and explode on impact, designed for precision strikes with minimal risk to operators. These drones could be used against Iran if Washington orders military action, Pentagon officials say. Task Force Scorpion evolved from an experimental U.S. military unit into a fully operational force embedded within the largest American military buildup in the Middle East in decades. These drones were reverse-engineered from Iran's own Shahed 136 loitering munitions, a weapon Tehran and its allies have used widely in regional conflicts. One was successfully test-launched from the USS Santa Barbara in the Persian Gulf, demonstrating deployability from naval vessels. Task Force Scorpion uses the Lucas system, autonomous, one-way attack platforms that can loiter over an area before diving into a target with lethal precision. Unlike larger, more expensive drones that depend on satellite links and runways, these inexpensive systems can be launched from trucks, ships, or mobile platforms, making them versatile and scalable. Analysts say these drones aren't designed to penetrate hardened underground facilities, but could degrade Iran's missile production sites, launch infrastructure, and logistical networks, effectively disrupting Tehran's ability to project power. Their deployment marks a potential shift in how the United States would prosecute a conflict with Iran, incorporating massive numbers of low-cost, expendable drones to overwhelm defenses, soften targets, and reduce risk to manned aircraft and pilots. If nuclear talks collapse and Tehran refuses concessions, these drones could be the first assets sent into Iranian territory, a move that could lower the threshold for conflict while dramatically escalating the technological nature of warfare. Task Force Scorpion's activation sends a clear message. The United States has mastered and improved upon technology once pioneered by Iran and is prepared to use it to neutralize threats, shape battlefields, and influence strategic outcomes. As U.S.-Iran tensions mount, the presence of these one-way drones adds another layer of complexity to an already volatile standoff, where diplomacy, deterrence, and devastating precision strike capabilities all collide.
Navy Admiral Brad Cooper, head of U.S. Central Command, has briefed President Donald Trump on potential military options involving Iran. Also present, General Dan Caine, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The message is clear. Operational planning is active. These briefings do not confirm imminent strikes though, but they confirm preparation. Sample this.
Tensions in Washington are rising sharply. Overnight, President Donald Trump was briefed by U.S. Central Command Commander Admiral Brad Cooper on military options against Iran. The briefing reportedly covered potential strike scenarios alongside diplomatic efforts to prevent a wider war. In the Middle East tonight, the path ahead may hinge on decisions being weighed in the Situation Room. Even as military plans are discussed, diplomacy continues. In an interview with The Washington Post, Vice President J.D. Vance says Washington wants to avoid a prolonged Middle East conflict. He is expected to meet Oman's foreign minister in Washington, part of ongoing efforts to keep negotiations alive. For the administration, the message is clear: pressure Iran, but prevent a war that spirals out of control. Recent negotiations in Geneva failed to produce a breakthrough. American officials reportedly left frustrated, while Iranian leaders rejected key proposals. Washington is demanding Iran dismantle major nuclear facilities and accept permanent restrictions. Tehran insists it will continue uranium enrichment and refuses to move its stockpile abroad. The gap between the two sides remains wide, and the clock is ticking. President Trump has set a tight deadline for a deal, warning that failure could bring consequences. Meanwhile, the U.S. military posture in the region is expanding. The USS Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group is moving closer to the Middle East, joining a growing network of American aircraft and naval assets. Such deployments serve both as deterrence and preparation, depending on how diplomacy unfolds. Technical teams from Iran, the United States, and international nuclear inspectors are expected to meet again in Vienna, but whether those talks lead to compromise or collapse remains uncertain. For now, Washington is preparing for both outcomes, negotiation if possible, action if necessary. And in moments like this, the line between the two can become dangerously thin. Tonight, the briefings continue, the ships move, and the talks hang in balance, because the next move between Washington and Tehran may define the region's future.
In a rare public move, the CIA has issued Farsi-language appeal calling on Iranians to come forward as potential informants. The agency posted recruitment messages on X, Instagram, and YouTube, offering secure channels for communication. This is not routine. It signals a ramp-up in intelligence gathering amid rising tensions.
As diplomacy with Iran hangs in the balance, Washington is turning to a different battlefield: information. The CIA has launched a new Farsi-language recruitment push on social media, urging Iranians to secretly contact the agency. The timing is striking, because it comes as the United States builds military forces in the region, and President Donald Trump warns that strikes remain an option if nuclear talks collapse. The agency posted instructions across multiple platforms, including X, Instagram, Telegram, Facebook, and YouTube. The messages explain how Iranians can securely contact U.S. intelligence, advising them to use disposable devices, trusted VPNs, and encrypted networks. Potential sources are asked to provide details about their roles, skills, and access to sensitive information. It's a clear signal the U.S. wants insight from inside Iran itself. The recruitment drive arrives at a moment of heightened tension. U.S. and Iranian negotiators are meeting in Geneva, with Oman mediating talks over Tehran's nuclear program. But Washington has also deployed warships, aircraft, and additional forces across the Middle East. President Trump says he prefers diplomacy, yet insists he will not allow Iran to develop a nuclear weapon. The intelligence push suggests Washington is preparing for multiple scenarios. This is not the first such effort. The CIA has previously issued recruitment messages targeting individuals in China, Russia, and North Korea. But the Iran campaign comes as domestic unrest, sanctions pressure, and nuclear tensions converge. For intelligence agencies, human sources remain one of the most valuable tools, especially in countries where information is tightly controlled. Iran denies pursuing nuclear weapons and says its program is peaceful, but Washington and its allies remain unconvinced. As negotiators meet in Geneva, both sides are signaling strength in different ways, one through diplomacy, the other through intelligence and military posture. The CIA's public outreach may be aimed at gathering information, but it also sends a message. The contest between the U.S. and Iran is not just on the battlefield or at the negotiating table, it's also in the shadows. As the talks unfold, the question isn't just whether a deal can be reached, it's whether the competition between Washington and Tehran is already entering a new phase.
From authorized departures in Israel to cloned drone warfare to strike briefings in Washington to intelligence recruitment inside Iran, the architecture of escalation is clearly visible. That's all for now on World News. I am Pankaj Mishra. Keep watching One India.